come, ladies and gentlemen, to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Star Trek: The Next Generation. My only fondest wish would have been that Gene and Majel could have joined us for this.
They're here in spirit.
But they're with us in spirit.
You got it.
So without any further ado, with no particular order in mind, we're going to start bringing out our fabulous panelists. Please let's welcome Mr. John Lancie. There it is.
Where do you want me to sit?
Anywhere, get comfortable. Looking awesome, John. Please welcome the lovely and talented Miss Denise Crosby. Fashion plate.
Thank you.
Beauty.
What?
Please may I have a warm welcome for Miss Marina Sirtis.
Bloody Ferengi get everywhere. Not touching your ears, I'm not. What?
Want me to sit?
Well, aren't we?
Well, we're going to actually maybe do a photo with everybody first, but yeah. Okay. Let's bring out your one-time boyfriend, Michael Dorn. On again, off again. Let's bring out our lovely dancing lady, Miss Gates McFadden.
Oh, she's changed. Damn, she looks good.
Watch out, ladies and gentlemen, because Elvis is in the house. Please welcome Mr. Brent Spiner. And please, ladies and gentlemen, the man who has created a national treasure in Reading Rainbow, Mr. LeVar Burton. And I guess we got to bring out Patrick, too. Ladies and gentlemen, Sir Patrick Stewart. Ladies and gentlemen, the cast of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Wow, that killed about 20 minutes.
Yeah. We're under a lot of pressure, people, because we declined the moderator, so we got to keep it moving.
Whoa!
Got to keep it moving.
Here we go!
So, hello everybody. Thanks for paying a vast amount of money to come and see us. It is fact. Thank you, thank you.
Next question.
Why don't we just go along the panel, let everyone know what everyone's up to right now? You all want to know that, right? Yeah, see, they all want to know. John.
Oh, Marina.
What? Isn't that what they usually do, the moderators? They ask us what we're doing? Yeah.
We asked, why don't we start with the people?
You know what?
Let's
What is
jump
your
in.
question?
We're going to jump in. Because at our panel, Dorny and I, we only got 3 questions. I know,
That's okay.
because someone didn't stop talking. No names. All right. Right? Yeah. Okay, let's go straight to the people. There you go, my darling. No, see, they want to know what we're up to. Sorry, the
Well,
people
somebody
have
might
such
ask
a-
that question. Ask
We'll
them
get
what they're
there.
up to.
You know
We'll
what?
get there. We'll throw it in.
Ask
Throw
them
it
what
in
they're up
somewhere.
to.
I've been overruled. Sorry. Yes, love.
So throughout this series, I feel like the Next Generation dealt with disability issues quite a bit. There was the episode Masterpiece Society where I believe Geordie said something like, "Why do you have the right to decide whether I have something to contribute to society?" Was that type of treatment of disability a deliberate thing that you know of? And was there anything more that could have or should have been addressed on that issue?
Good question. LeVar?
Right? Perfect.
Yes, I did.
This is going very well, don't you think? To answer your question, yes, I believe it was deliberate. The expressed desire of sending a signal that in the future, one's physical limitations was just another thing that separates us that we would have overcome.
So, LeVar, remember the conversation you had with Jean about why in the 24th century you were still blind?
Remind me.
Okay. So I think you asked him why by the 24th century you had the visor and why they hadn't. And he said, "How do you know that isn't better?" Do you remember that?
That's right. That's right.
And I'm in the menopause and I have no memory and I remember that.
You know, I asked Gene early on when he said, first thing he said, "Do you mind being a different color?" And I said, "No, that's fine." And I said, "But why would I need to do that? Why, you know, this is the 24th century, wouldn't they have, you know, been able to recreate skin and skin tones?" And he said, "What makes you think what you have wouldn't be better?" And I realized he said that about everything. Yeah. Very smart guy.
He did also say, when questioned, I think on our first press gathering, he was asked, "You have a captain who has no hair, he's bald. Surely by the 24th century, surely by the 24th century, they would have found a cure for male pattern baldness." And Jean replied, "In the 24th century, no one will care."
Didn't he say bald is better?
I don't think that was in his vocabulary.
Yes, love.
Oh, hi. My name's Justin. I'm the co-host of a Star Trek The Next Generation podcast called Earl Grey, and I'm really thrilled to be here. Thank you, a fan over there, or maybe my co-host. My question's for Sir Patrick Stewart. Is there something that you would have liked, looking back now, is there something you would have liked Captain Picard to have done or said that didn't happen in the show or movies?
There might have been 20 years ago. Now it's not something that I think about very much. But I do remember that I appealed to, I think it was Rick and the writers, to write a romantic encounter for Picard that wasn't referencing a relationship that was already 25 years old, like We'll Always Have Paris did. And so they did, and that led to Captain's Holiday, and we know what that led to, don't we?
Yeah. Any
Well, we
excuse?
do, anyway.
Well, it led to any excuse to get his shirt off, is what it led to. Which is kind of to this day, isn't it? You love getting your shirt off. Don't even. Because he's very old, but he's in great shape. He's in great shape.
That is cold.
I don't say anything behind his back that I don't say to his face.
Oh, I'm sure about
Yes.
that. I'm sure about that.
Hi, we have a new series coming out for Star Trek Discovery, and I know everyone's excited about it. I'm wondering, does anybody have an interest in doing a guest role on there? And if so, what style of role would you want to do?
Next question.
I think that's a reasonable question.
I was joking. I was joking.
Yeah. Next question. A guest shot, well, I don't know about that. I mean, I'm very optimistic about this show. I'm very hopeful that it's going to be fantastic. And I hope it continues this wonderful epic journey that Star Trek has been on, and I feel it probably will. I don't know that I need to be a part of it necessarily, but I encourage them and hope for the best.
Amen.
Is the new series set in the future, if we take Next Generation as being the present, or is it set in the past?
Past.
So it's a prequel.
You would have to have hair.
Next question.
Bit of a combo. A few of you have had the opportunity to meet Patrick, and many of you haven't. So I would like to introduce him now. This is Patrick James Tiberius Kirk.
No.
And I had the opportunity with the next generation, if you will, to raise him up under Gene Roddenberry's bubble of trying to make social change. And this generation that came from Gene, that came from us, the original Trekkies, are extraordinary, extraordinary people.
Yes.
Extraordinary.
Why would you do that to your child?
Well,
Thank you.
and actually I was gonna have that conversation with you perhaps later, but I would like to set up maybe some counseling for him, because
I'm sure he needs it.
Oh yeah, right. I mean, until he in high school, he tried to pretend that he wasn't named after the two starship captains, and it embarrassed him. And of course, I told everyone. But then he started to see Star Trek and the Trouble with Tribbles, and he started to come to these events, and it's like, okay, I can't keep it.
My daughter's Ariana Nerys.
Well, whatever. I'm still a little shocked that you would do that to a baby. But is there a question that you have, or did you just want to introduce us to?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
All right. My question is specifically for John. if you could have the powers of Q in the real world, who would you like to keep popping in on just to irritate and why?
Oh, go on, John.
Donald Trump?
Yes! I feel better now.
I just want to say it's a pleasure to be up here. I've been watching y'all for years, and you're the greatest ensemble in TV history.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And, LeVar, you're awesome. You're down to earth. You're cool. Everyone is cool. My question is for Patrick Stewart and Brent Spiner, but you all are fantastic, and it's an honor to be up here. Mr. Spiner, it is incredible, your acting skills, and the different characters that you played. How in the heck did you find this in yourself to do it with all the hours that you all put in? And the same for you, Sir Patrick.
Well, thank you, by the way. Thanks so much. Did you get this? Yeah. And thanks for saying that we're cool. Can't really speak for everyone here, but I am. You know what? I'll tell you, when you're doing a series like we did, where we're working 16 hours a day, we did 176 episodes, 10 months out of the year. It was a moving train, and there was barely time to think about it. So you just had to accept that and let your instincts fly and go with it. And I would credit it more to luck than talent, really, that something stuck every now and then, you know? I mean, I had one episode that I did, you remember Masks? You remember that episode? Yeah. And Patrick will agree with me, I think, that I was doing some of the most preposterous acting ever done on a television set. But I mean, I remember being with...
We couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah, you couldn't stop laughing. Colomini and Marina were laughing in my face while I was doing these characters. But we didn't have a choice. We just had to go because it was going by so quickly and the next episode was coming up. So it was just luck, really, as far as I was concerned.
Were you a woman when you were doing that voice? When you were in Masks? Was that the right one? Am I thinking of the right one?
I don't think
Yes.
No, I was only a woman once.
No, were you doing like a female? Because you were like an entity.
I was an entity.
Yeah.
There was nothing female about that entity.
Are you sure?
That was a very male entity.
Okay, Donald. Okay.
No, I was only a woman once in Fistful of Data. Exactly.
Right.
A very attractive woman, by the way.
Who? You got any mirrors in your house? I'm just... I was mean to Data. I'm
Who
sorry.
directed Fistful of Daters? That was a great show.
I remember.
Was that you, Patrick?
Was it me?
Was it you directed Fistful of Daters?
I don't remember exactly his name, but he kept crying through the entire episode.
Because you gave me such a hard time.
Of course. That was our job.
But listen, let's just return to the question. Following Brent, we could, all of us, talk for all night about how we worked on this show. And what I think became clear to all of us, if not articulated, was that the characters became very quickly a blend of the character and the actor. and that each one of us, maybe encouraged by Gene, maybe by Rick, to use our own personalities and natures, and sometimes even our own strongest feelings in the characters. I certainly very quickly got to a point where I didn't know where Jean-Luc began and Patrick Stewart ended off, because they became entirely one. So now it's a little hard for me to answer questions about Jean-Luc Picard, because they refer to myself. Does that make sense? Yeah.
You know, I think it was particularly true in a way of Jonathan, and I could say that without him here, but the more Riker became Jonathan, the better he got, and until finally he was just terrific, because Jonathan is terrific.
They never wanted me to be me. I never got that. I was like, why can't I be me?
First contact bar scene.
That was me. First contact bar scene, that was me. As the people on the cruise know, I do a couple of tequila shots every now and then myself. Next question.
First of all, thank you so much for declining the moderator. I think this forum is fantastic, and I really enjoy just the spontaneity of it all. So
Say thank you, Marina.
So for one of the characters who did not extend through the 7 seasons and did not be able to become one with their character, Miss Crosby, who decided to leave. I believe some of the best episodes came when Denise came back, such as yesterday's Enterprise. So my question is, if you had to think back, where do you think your character would have gone had you stayed the full 7 seasons and the movies?
Wow, well, Data and I would have gotten married.
Yeah.
Had a little child.
Yeah.
And I would have...
You'd have put him up to 5 speeds.
Thank you, Marina. Have you been thinking about Tasha Yar all these 30 years? You have been, haven't you? Marina's been planning out my entire career. Wow, you know, it's hard to know. I mean, you know, I love what Patrick said about the melding of our personal selves with our characters, and you know, Tasha was dear to my heart, and loved playing her. Sela, not so much, but definitely Tasha Yar. So, you know, I would have hoped that there would have been some really, you know, interesting, complex personal issues, you know, dealt with Tasha, because she was full of them. I only know that because of my audition scene that never was filmed. It was a really complicated piece of writing, and it's sad that it wasn't, but it really revealed a lot about her. And so I'll leave it at that. But thank you.
In a Troy frock, and you're asking Michael Dorn a question.
That's because I'm saving my question for your autograph table when I deliver your Canadian contraband.
Thank you so much. Okay. Michael, this lovely lady has a question.
Lights.
And they just turn the lights out on her.
The chemistry between you is very obvious, even to us out here who only see you in your public faces and what you allow us to see. So, Michael, when you switched casts from The Next Generation and went on to Deep Space Nine, which has an entirely different chemistry and an entirely different feeling, how did you cope with that? What were the difficulties in adjusting from one atmosphere to the other?
Interestingly enough, it was the idea that And Patrick said this many years ago, was that it was difficult not to have fun and work at the same time. Before Next Generation, you basically were coming into shows and guest starring, whatever the case, and you got in there, you did your lines and you left. But you never did realize you could have so much fun and do really good work at the same time. I mean, like a lot of fun. And so when I went over there, I missed that fun part. You're talking about some really wonderful actors over there. I mean, these are guys that are well known, basically. And so it wasn't about that, but there was the fun kind of thing that was missing. And I really wanted that. And so after about 6 months, they kind of loosened up. Because I would if I couldn't have fun with them, I had fun with the crew, because we knew the crew. And the crew loved it too, because finally somebody came over that they could actually like laugh with. But these were all great people. I mean, there wasn't a problem with that, but it just wasn't that feeling on the set. And I really missed that. And so they kind of got that. And it changed over the years, and it became a lot more relaxed than it was. I mean, when I got over there, you walk on the set and I go, "Hi, how you doing?" You know, and, "Yes, Michael, could you go over there, please?" I'm going, I make the joke over and over again, but it's true, it felt like that Monty Python where you walk in and you go, "Hi, everybody, hi, I'm here, let's go." And P-A-S-U, Dorn. You know, it's like, really was, and everybody was like, you know, and it was, I could do it, and it wasn't like, oh my God, I can't act like this, but I really missed it. And if I had to do another 4 years in makeup, I really wanted to enjoy myself, so.
This is my first Star Trek convention here in Las Vegas, and you're one of my favorite shows. This is specifically, not to ignore everybody else, but Sir Patrick. We heard a little bit about your earlier life, and recently I saw something on YouTube about a dog, Ginger. Could you tell us more about that, please?
Ginger is well and thriving. She doesn't live with us, sadly. We wanted to adopt her, but we very quickly found out that we would not be allowed to bring her into the UK, which is what we wanted to do. There's something called BSL, breed-specific legislation. And pit bulls, pitties, are a banned breed in the UK. You can breed them, but you cannot introduce them into the country. It's insane. And I, along with the RSPCA, are campaigning to get that legislation thrown out and something put into place.
Because, Patrick, you'll agree, there are no bad dogs. There are only bad owners, right? Okay.
I have a pit bull. I'm a proud pit bull owner.
Pit bulls are the sweetest dogs. Yeah.
Except when they kill kids.
You've always, that's what was missing in your life, Patrick. A dog.
I had a dog when I was young.
Yeah, well, that was a long time ago. You haven't had one.
Like the other day, wasn't it?
Yes, it wasn't recently. Not recently, no. What? Oh, they're going to turn on me in a minute.
I'm surprised you can even remember.
Yes.
My question is for Gates. And for those of us that are theater geeks, we know that you have, since the show has ended, have returned to your love of theater. And recently have been doing a lot of nonprofit theater work. And we've seen some amazing photos on Twitter. Would you tell us what you've been up to and how it's going?
I just did, actually a week ago, we did a festival of
classical and also new music that was written and commissioned for a festival in France. We have a new non-profit that is Franco-American called Cricket Projet Production, Cricket Productions. And we're trying to also develop some site-specific theater work, new pieces. And we have an opera that we're hoping to develop. And there's things down the road. I invite you all to check it out on the websites. And I also am still, I have money that's at the theater at Boston Court in Los Angeles, and we're waiting for the right script to come along. But yeah, I'm still trying to do new theater and new art, performing art, and please check it out and come if you're into it. Thank you.
Hi everyone. This is my first convention. I grew up as a kid during the '80s, and the Next Generation was part of my childhood.
Are you going to cry?
I'm sorry?
Are you going to cry?
I'm nervous, actually.
Oh, all right.
This is my first
Please
time.
don't cry. Okay.
Sir Patrick, I just want to thank you for being so honest about your past. For myself, I can honestly tell you that it helped me. I can bestow to the entire cast that, to borrow a phrase from one of my favorite poems, is thank you for shining your own light so that you can allow others to unconsciously shine theirs. My question is for Brent and Gates, and it's specifically, one of my favorite episodes was the episode where Data had created a daughter, and there was one particular scene that I think epitomizes the family that the theme of family that I keep hearing about. So I was wondering if either of you or both of you can talk about just the dynamics during that scene, and whether, I don't know at the time, if you were parents yourselves, or if this was, how you approached that scene, because it was absolutely fantastic.
Which scene are you talking about? Did you mention it?
I'm sorry?
You didn't say what scene it was.
I'm sorry. It was the scene where Data goes to Dr. Crusher and asks for parental advice.
Oh. Maybe, would you like to do the scene right now? Dr. Crusher? No, I have no... you know what? I honestly don't remember. I don't remember the scene. I don't remember the episode.
I do.
I don't remember you. I don't remember any of these people. Where am I?
I remember.
No, you know what? I honestly don't remember it, so you talk about
it. Well, and you also never paid me for the advice, whatever. We'll talk about that later. I remember it, and it was really lovely. I can't remember what season that was. I had my child I was pregnant 4th season, so I came back 5th season. My son was 3. So whatever year it was, I was a parent at that time. But I'm not sure what season it was, so I probably hadn't a clue how to be a parent when I did it. But it was a lovely scene. I remember that scene. I didn't think Brent was particularly good in it, but I remember...
I honestly didn't remember that you've had a child.
You're his godfather. Try to remember.
That's right, I forgot.
Remember me.
That was, I do remember the episode, of course. I honestly don't remember the specifics because I've only seen it never. And, it was an excellent episode to work on because it was Jonathan's first directorial work ever. He had never directed. The Offspring, it was his first...
Directorial debut.
His debut, exactly. And so, when one of us directed, of course, aside from the rest of us really kicked in and tried hard. Michael's apologizing to Patrick right now. But no, we were really, and he's never forgiven him, by the way, but never will. But we really did, get behind Jonathan because he was so serious about it and he really wanted to do it. And he had studied and gone to what Rick called Paramount Directing School and done all the work he needed to do. And the result was not only a wonderful episode, followed by several wonderful episodes that he directed through the years, but he continues to be a fantastic director. And I do remember that.
Patrick, just a minute. Patrick, do you remember when you called the Screen Actors Guild about all the smoke on the sets? So Patrick, because we would always land on these M-class planets, which I assume meant you can breathe the air, right? Why was there always smoke? It was like Victorian London. It was like pea soup. So Sir Patrick calls the Screen Actors Guild to ask what the rules and regulations are about working in smoke. And so they come to the set and we have a little meeting and they tell us all the rules and excellent. And then Patrick got to direct. We couldn't see our hands in front of our faces. There was so much smoke on the bloody set.
I remember somebody thinking that the scene in the saloon, the bar was actually on fire.
On fire. And I'm not even going to talk about when he put me in a cake. Had nothing to do with you, the cake, okay. This side, okay.
Anyway, thanks for your question, by the way. Enjoy.
30 years as one of the most recognized ensemble casts on television, not just in science fiction. Moving forward, looking at Discovery and looking at any future series of Star Trek that we might see, what advice do you have, any of you, for the cast of those shows moving forward?
Save your money.
Save your money. Don't buy anything big for 3 years.
Stay out of Gucci.
I mean, in a kind of serious, not too serious, but just kind of. And this is the funny thing. I was thinking about this today. Is that I've worked with quite a few actors that have been in business much longer than I have, and the one thing that they always say to the last person is they didn't appreciate what they had at the time until much, much later. And I would say definitely anybody who's starting out, their first big gig or whatever the case, to really appreciate where you are and what's happening, because it is, I mean, you're extremely fortunate. So that's
enjoy it while you can.
Yeah, that's right.
Sir Patrick, I'm going to cut right to the chase. In '92, you were voted sexiest man on television. It gets better. In '93, the most bodacious man on television. And you said in an interview you thought it was absurd, and I was just wondering what made you think that.
It still feels absurd today. Go on, speak your mind.
If you'll come to the edge of the stage, I can help you with that.
Oh, here she comes. Oh, and she has a walk. She has a walk. Well, so haha.
That is as bodacious as it freaking gets, man.
It's Lady Jane. Yes.
So?
It's just me and a lot of fur. Now, I have nothing against fur at all.
Really?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very flattered. Thank you very much. And quickly moving on.
Bodacious.
Good evening, everybody. My wife and I are over here for the very first con we've ever done. And I just wanted to say to arguably the greatest ensemble cast ever, period, ever. I'm sure you get this all the time, but I wanted to say thank you. 3 years ago, I'd been a teacher for 10 years. I burnt out really, really badly, could barely leave our apartment. And the reason I got from there to being a filmmaker and doing a job I love now is because of Star Trek: The Next Generation. So, thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Thank you. But if I may, just for a brief moment ask, in your opinion, we are, I think, as a planet, on possibly a greater knife edge than we have been for a very long time. Excuse me for being, for a moment, a little bit serious. I'm sorry, that's kind of my thing, I guess. Do you have any idea how we might get from here to Gene's vision of the 24th century in some form? I don't mean to rest too much responsibility at your feet. I'm sorry, it's quite a big question. But I just wonder if you have any ideas. I know LeVar asked me to hold on to this question until now. Maybe you regret that now, LeVar, I'm sorry. But do you guys have any ideas how we can harness this love in this room for you guys, for what Gene created, and actually get to what he envisaged?
Well, the only thing that comes to mind, and I'm glad you said it, if we can take the love and the passion for the values and ideals that Gene has gifted us with, and really put them into practice in our everyday lives, and then pass those values on to our children, I do believe we will get there. We have no choice. It's either, and I believe you and agree with you when you say that we're sort of at a tipping point. We're either going one way or another, and I've always been optimistic in the sense that in the face of contrary evidence, I still want to bet on the human beings.
That was lovely. I agree with that. And I also think just a lot of times I think it's maybe important to go, what can I do? And rather than be concerned about what everyone else can do. And I think that as I get older, I realize that when I feel vulnerable, that's sort of the birthplace of love and empathy. And when I'm afraid and I become defended and I become guarded, is when I'm less open to actually perceiving another person and trying to actually accept who they are. I think that to me has been a really interesting journey, and I would love to continue down that road of being open and being vulnerable in a good way, in a strong way. It takes strength to be vulnerable. I don't mean weak. I mean having courage to not be afraid and to love. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, my question's for everyone. When the TV show ended, did you take anything from the Next Generation set? Do you still have it? And is there anything that you wish you did take?
I wish I'd taken Patrick's Jaguar.
Yes.
It was in the parking lot and I didn't take it.
I took a few things.
I wanted, when we finished the series, I asked our unit production manager could I have one of my uniforms?
That was
Because,
the problem, you asked.
precisely.
I didn't ask, I
I
just
said,
took them.
can I have one of our uniforms? They made 17 for each of us. So I figured, sure, they'll let me. No, you can't have it. I went, what? He said, they don't belong to you. They belong to Paramount Pictures and you can't have one. I said, all right. So after the final day of shooting, and we didn't finish on the last shot of the series. I don't think you were working the last day.
I certainly was. In fact, John, don't you remember? It was a John Lancie, Patrick Stewart scene that wrapped the series.
Right. We had already gone. That's why I didn't remember. We were already off having fun. No, but we did go and we all met in a restaurant. I think you couldn't come. That's what it was, because you and John were still working.
We were still on the set working.
Well, that was it. That was, you were working and you weren't invited. It was the two things. But we all went to a restaurant in Beverly Hills in California. The friend of Jonathan's owned the restaurant. And in walks, I got there early. Jonathan and Gates walked in their uniforms into the restaurant. Yeah. That's right. So if there are any law enforcement officers here today? Yes.
No.
Yes.
I thought Jonathan ripped his costume off on the last day. You found another one?
Jonathan wore his costume.
You know, I don't think I was aware of it. I must have thought I changed and forgot.
You were so, Gacy, you were so tired, you just forgot to change. I took 3 costumes. I took various other bits and bobs I saw lying about. I took my director's chair. You're supposed to take the, the fabric bit on the back, that's got the name of the show and then your name on it. I thought, that's a good height, that chair. When I'm getting ready for a red carpet event at home, that's the perfect height to get my makeup done, so. And I ran into Mary Howard, and who's one of our producers, and she said, where you go? I said, she said, what are you doing? I said, I'm taking my chair. She said, you can't take your chair, Marina. I said, I'm taking my chair. She said, just take the back out of the chair like everybody else. I said, no, I'm taking the chair. And then she said, take the bloody chair. Okay, take the chair. And I went, that was easy. So I went into observation, and I started wheeling out one of the comfy chairs, and I thought this would be really handy. Really comfy for watching TV, and then they didn't let me take that. But I tell you what else I got. I got Jonathan's I got a pink satin robe. No, I got a satin one. I got a satin one that they wore back in with the big shoulders, like Joan Crawford wore back in the 50s, and they lent me one to wear. I like that, thank you. So I got a lot of stuff. The moral of this story is, sorry, Dorny, don't ask.
I didn't take anything. I think.
Well, you weren't leaving, were you? That's the problem.
No, I wasn't going to go. I still wanted to do.
No, he hadn't been offered the job on DS9 yet.
Yeah.
Well, I thought you.
No, it didn't go straight after. No.
No, it was a year after that. But the one thing that they did, and I didn't mean to do it at first. It was just kind of one of the things but they called me from the office or from someplace, studio services or something like that. They called me and said, Mr. Dorn, could you turn in your parking card? Because we have a parking card that you put in, that you wave in front of the thing, lets you in. I'm sorry? And they said, yeah. And they said, we want you to come and turn it in. And I don't know what it was, but I just went, no. I said, well, what do you mean? I said, no, I'm not turning it in. I've used this thing for 7 years. Now you're calling me like I'm gonna sneak in at some point and just hang around. No job, no dressing room, no nothing, just. And I just got angry and I went, no. and I still have it.
Can you? It doesn't work anymore. Don't it?
Oh, no.
It doesn't work anymore.
No, of course they were going to change it. It's been 30 years. I'm sure they changed the system.
No, I tried to use mine.
But I said, nope, and I still have it.
Well, you know, if I can tell my story of what I still have, unlike the rest of you, I went to the office having done some research in the wardrobe department, and I simply offered to buy one of my uniforms, to purchase it. And they said no. The one thing I stole, I have a communicator. I have the communicator I was wearing when John and I were shooting the last scene of the series.
Yes. Thanks.
And it's actually been promised to the Archbishop of York. But...
Wow.
I have my judge's robe.
You do?
I actually lent it to Paramount. I had brought it from my home because I was wearing it before the show. It's mostly how I would come to dinner formally when I reprimand the children. So I just took it back and then charged them the 7 years that they understood that. I came out very well with that one.
So great. God. Oh, that was fun.
Okay, which side are we on now? That side, okay.
I really like the Shakespearean.
I don't think, I mean, I'll speak for myself, but there wasn't things that were annoying.
That's not true, Michael.
That's not true,
Really?
No.
Like what?
Well,
you were a very sensitive Klingon. Very sensitive Klingon. We spent a lot of time apologizing to Michael for hurting his feelings.
But that wasn't, you guys weren't annoying.
No, but
you were annoying because you were so sensitive.
Oh, okay.
No. I was going to say, you have made it very clear over time that you were genuinely annoyed that my hair was so full.
Yes, that is true. Yes. At a time where I was losing my hair in handfuls, I go over there and LeVar, no matter what it is, he's always very nicely coiffed. There was not a bald spot in sight. Up until, and I would just give him so much shit about it, yes.
Yes.
Especially on Deep Space.
So, one day, on Deep Space Nine.
No, wait, let me preface it. I'll let you. So I would come over to him and he'd be directing on Deep Space, and I come over to him and I grab his head and I look at the top of it and I go, shit, not a bald spot. Push it away. Every day. And
so one day, I had
wait, one more thing. And I said, you know, I think your hair grows before lunch. I think there's more hair now than there was at 9 o'clock in the morning.
And so I had the hair and makeup department bring me an afro wig. And so when Michael came back from lunch that day, there I was sitting in the director's chair.
I came in and said, hey everybody, And he was just sitting there like this, like, what? Well, there's also a time, no, that wasn't annoying.
Would you tell us what you've been up to and how it's going?
I just did, actually a week ago, we did a festival of classical and also new music that was written and commissioned for a festival in France. We have a new non-profit that is Franco-American called Cricket Projet Production, Cricket Productions. And we're trying to also develop some site-specific theater work, new pieces. And we have an opera that we're hoping to develop. And there's things down the road. I invite you all to check it out on the websites. And I also am still, I have money that's at the theater at Boston Court in Los Angeles, and we're waiting for the right script to come along. But yeah, I'm still trying to do new theater and new art, performing art, and please check it out and come if you're into it. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Michael, all the focus seems to be on you right now, but you're man enough to take it. And it was this, when we were shooting on the bridge, this may be of interest to you, after having shot Masters, in which the whole scene was in the shot, and everybody in the scene was in the shot, we would then come in and we would do what they call coverage. That is, medium shots, close-ups of individuals. But they would start at the front of the set, which meant Brent, and whoever was sitting in the other command chair, and not the command chair, but there was the navigation, ops, yeah, and move backwards. But especially if it was a Friday night, which it always was when we were shooting these, the moment the camera had moved past you and you were off camera, you could go to the trailer and change your clothes. And this was an accepted custom on the show. Now, this policy meant that when we came to the last person on the bridge, who was it? Michael. The rest of us were all in our going home clothes, and he was still not only in the spacesuit, but in everything's still there. And then Michael would deliberately start corpsing. You know what I mean by corpsing? Laughing in his lines. While all we wanted to do was to give him all our support and then go home. Or go to the pub or whatever. But Michael, no, he would just stand there and laugh and laugh and laugh, spin out the time. It pissed me off. It must have pissed you off too.
The other thing about Michael is that Michael, some of you know this because you've heard it before. Michael remembers every line he ever said on TV. He just didn't remember them at the time. And sometimes it was just, yes, sir. And we'd do the scene, and then we'd wait. You go, what? Oh, yes, sir. So you were the only annoying one, really, Mike.
I think that was it. What's that?
What really happened? Okay, nice film, but shooting you last.
What really happened? No, that's not happened. What do you mean?
Why were you laughing? Why were you corpsing?
Oh, because
he's annoying.
Talking about you guys making faces at me and stuff like that?
That kind of thing.
Well, it looks very, very serious and very, professional, what you see on camera. But whenever Patrick and Jonathan would be at the screen, they get up and they have to walk to the screen to talk to these godforsaken aliens or wherever they go. And they would talk and they go, yes, well, I think that's and they turn around and walk back to their chairs. Yes, number one, tell them we're not going to turn back and walk to the chairs. And I'm standing there, very serious, Worf, and they turn around and they're laughing and making faces at me, walking back to the... And it was, and I'm sorry, but it was just very difficult working with these people. They were just. But I want to apologize for that. But I have to apologize for Patrick, and I'm going to do this every time we're together. That there was, like Brent said, usually for some reason there were directors that we liked, and we gave him that. I mean, we were still crazy between takes. But for some reason, there was one show that Patrick was directing, and Brent and I, all we had to do was walk into this bar and go up to the bartender and say, "Excuse me, we're looking for a lady that is so-and-so and so-and-so. Have you seen her?" And the bartender says, no, we haven't seen her. And for some reason, it was Ensign Rowe, and she was sitting right over there.
Yeah.
I mean, if we had turned our heads, we would have seen her.
She was impossible not to be.
She had the little thing on her face. I mean, everything was like,
You'd have to be blindfolded and walk in not to see.
So Brent and I got into this thing where we'd walk in, and we wouldn't walk in as Data and Worf. We'd walk in as two stupid English guys. Or whatever the case, two stupid German guys. Wherever we'd walk in, we'd say, "Hey, we're looking for a woman. And it looks like her." And nobody enjoyed it more than Brent and I. We were just, and then we said, "Okay, what about two German guys?" Okay, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Come in, we're looking for a woman, she looks something just like that.
But that's not her, is it? No, that's not her. Well, what should we do? And it's late. Patrick has a day that he has to make, he has to finish, and this went on for hours. And Patrick, to his credit, we love it, he was over in the corner laughing, but he wasn't laughing that, joyful laugh. He was laughing that sort of pitiful, if I had a gun, I would shoot you guys. And the worst part was, whenever somebody from the front office, the producers or anybody else came to watch the scene, Brent and I would start all over again. We'd say, "Hey, you want to see two stupid English guys? Watch this, watch this." We do it over again, and it was, and I just wanted to apologize, not only for all that annoying stuff I'd done, but I apologize, Patrick. It was horrible of us. Very funny, but really, really horrible. And you were a good sport.
I'm sorry too.
If you hadn't done that, what the heck would we be talking about now?
Right now,
we have nothing to say.
I mean, if Dorn hadn't been annoying, what would we?
The moss, yes. The moss.
Yeah, Gates as a director, very creative. Yes. And this one scene, I was supposed to morph into this thing, and she says, "Michael, I want you to feel the moss in the plant."
I didn't say it that way, but whatever.
So, the moss?
You were de-evolving into someone who really wanted to dig into plants. And you were testy about it, but it finally...
I did it.
You did incredible moss acting. It was incredible.
Do you remember when I asked Jonathan to kneel down for a shot? Were you there? It was in engineering. You must have been there. Yeah, I had real problems with the shot, and I could do individual coverage, and I suddenly realized that I could save a huge amount of time if Jonathan was kneeling on the floor. And he did say, "Why?" And I said, so I can get the shot? And God bless him, he did.
Now, LeVar directed, and wonderful director, wonderful. Seriously, he was actually started out as really good and turned into a fabulous director. Enjoyed it immensely. But he was extremely serious. I mean, it was like, okay, everybody, I know what you're used to, but not on my watch.
I was a little tense.
You were a little tense.
Yeah.
And there was a scene where we were in the I think it was the transporter room, and when you do beam outs, the person comes in, and if there's stuff around, they set it, and you go in, and they say, okay, run, and then they cut, and then you walk out, and then they run the camera some more, and that's how they get the beam out. And you have to be careful not to move anything. If there's a stand, if there's a phaser on the ground, anything has to be left alone. And so LeVar's like, okay, everybody, don't touch anything. Now, we had been doing the show for 5 years, so we kind of knew. So, okay, I'm annoying. So I went, they said, okay, and cut, and everybody move out, and I go, hey, do you want me to move this? And LeVar looked at me and goes, Michael, don't. And I went,
like you were in the 3rd grade.
Like I'm in the 3rd grade?
Yeah.
Michael, no. I went, LeVar, who are you, my father? And he said, today I am.
Hi, I have a comment and a question. The comment is for Sir Patrick. I'm a physician, and I heard you mention that you've had vertigo for a while now, and you need to ask your doctor for an MRI, and don't take no for an answer. Don't tell me if you had one, that's HIPAA. But,
I actually had a brain scan 2 days ago.
Good.
Did they find it?
I hope it's well.
No, I have not. What did you find? Nothing. I don't know. I'm waiting to hear the results.
I just had to.
No news is good news. My question is really inspired by listening to the Women of Star Trek panel and hearing Ms. Crosby, Sirtis, earlier Ms. Farrell and Ms. McFadden. All of your contract negotiations seemed really sour and lousy at the beginning and the middle. And when I heard the men on stage talk, they didn't mention problems with contract negotiations.
That's because they're men.
So my question is, do you think that nowadays there would be the same problem? How much was it related to it being a new show? What's your collective experience with that? Because it sounded
Women are
really
always
unfair.
paid. Women are paid less than men in Hollywood, like everywhere else.
Women are paid less than men almost everywhere in most countries in the world.
And Hollywood
they are
is no
paid less than
different.
men. And it's an iniquity that has to be corrected.
When I was asking, actually, this is I've never talked about this, but who cares? When I was negotiating for Nemesis, they literally threatened to fire me and recast Troy, or not actually recast Troy, but they said, okay, well then we're going to fire you and we're going to hire Jerry Ryan. And I said, well, Jerry Ryan won't do it for that money, that's for sure. Right? So women have always been paid less. The negotiations are always uglier because there's some kind of feeling that we don't deserve the same money as the boys. But yeah, it was always ugly. I quit smoking for 6 years, and what got me started again was contract negotiations with Paramount. That's how bad it was. That's how bad it was. This is why I love the new young actresses. Jennifer Lawrence, she's my hero right now because she found out She was going to do a Broadway play where she was the star, and she found out that her co-star, she was the lights, you know, her name up in lights, her co-star was earning more than her. And so guess what? She went, not doing it. And she pulled out of the show. And I just wish there were more actresses like her in the business, because we are not treated the same. We're just not. If a man is, I'm on a rant now. If a man is difficult, if a man's difficult, it's artistic temperament. If a woman's difficult, she's a bitch. Right? So until we get, and let me tell you, having women in charge hasn't changed it. And I've had conversations with women producers about this, that they say, oh, you know, we mentor women, we do our bit. And I'm like, that is total BS. You're a producer. Hire women. You're the boss. Hire women, right? Mentoring is slavery. You don't get paid. I'm all wound up now. But no, so they don't. They're so desperate to be accepted in the boys' club when they get any power. I mean, I'm talking generally here. Obviously, there are exceptions. But I have found in my experience, in my 40 years in the business, that even when women are the boss, they don't help other women. And this is so wrong, and it has to change, and it's the young actresses who are sticking up for themselves who are going to change it, and I applaud them, and I wish I'd had half the guts that they had when I was their age, really. Time for a joke. If a couple get married in if a couple from all right.
All right, sorry. If a couple get married, I'm not the joke. Oh, okay.
I wasn't going to tell the joke because they've heard it and it's a bit racist. Okay.
All good.
Against the South, not against the color. Okay.
So Michael kind of already answered my question a little bit ago, but maybe some of the other characters could answer it. As Patrick Stewart would be voted most handsome man on TV, and that I was being born. So my father raised us to be on the show, so he had control of the TV and all that, and we watched this a lot, and there were moments where my brother and I would, especially with Data and Worf, we would just go, oh my gosh, no, when they were like discovering, kind of having those human moments, because we saw it coming as children. That's what I was getting at. And I was just wondering, and Michael kind of mentioned this when they were going into the bar and the lady was sitting right there and they kind of made a joke of it, but was there times where your character was doing something and you were like, as an actor, just like, oh my gosh, this is so obvious as you, but having to go through it as your character and play it as something else?
What's the question?
Just like the instance in the bar, you said the woman was sitting right there, and as an actor you were like, she's right there, but your character had to play to something else. Were there other incidences like that? Is what I said Michael could have already answered it.
Where we had to sort of suspend, is it disbelief? Suspend disbelief? Every episode.
Every green screen.
We looked at a screen that was...
Every X on that screen.
Yeah.
You know?
Cosmo saying the lines of every alien. Right?
Yeah, we had a wonderful script coordinator who... He's the one who would, if we'd forget a line, he was on top of it, he'd throw us the line, whatever. But he would also read all of the off-camera aliens and
he would do them all in the same voice.
Same voice.
Sort of mystical and, you know, but where are we going, Captain Picard?
But he was the dearest guy. We loved him. And, but it was hilarious. And, so we were every day in a position where we had to pretend that something was happening that really wasn't.
But you know the thing is that that's Leo.
It's
what
acting.
you said. That's
It's acting.
it's acting. I mean, that's movies. I mean, if you watch ER, or any of the shows, I mean, they're not operating on people, you know, and they don't have their, you know, doctors don't have their hair beautiful, and they take off their mask after a 6-hour operation, and they have beautiful makeup, and I mean, it's just the same thing, it's just acting. So
Yeah, the difference was in the scene that Michael told, we were just trying to upset Patrick. That was the only difference, really.
I don't even think I don't even think Patrick was a factor.
He really
I think
wasn't.
We were just
out of control.
We're out of control.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm a media professor at the University of North Alabama, and I have used Star Trek in my classes for years and years and years, and media criticism and theory and history and all kinds of things. And I'm teaching young people who want to go into this business. What would you have me say, or what would you tell my students about the roles, the effects, and the responsibilities of a media professional?
Ooh.
That's a little bit too heavy.
Good question.
I'll take that. I'll start it off. First of all, you have to become a media professional. So you have young people, and many of them, I find in answering questions like this, is that they're very interested in, let's say, media professional, very interested in celebrity, very interested in that type of stuff. But I find what's interesting is that they are not actually that committed or interested in asking questions about what is the craft of acting. So what I often say, especially to people who want to be actors, I say, you have to act. That's different than acting out. You have to act. And there are 365 days of the year, and you have to figure out a way to try to act as many of those days in that year. And you have to stay in the town that you're in, rather than rush to New York or to Los Angeles, where you will be swallowed up, most likely, and completely exhaust every possibility in the town that you're in. And figure out, nowadays, you have to be able to do, frankly, everything. And never say no, always say yes, and every opportunity is something that will lead to perhaps something else, you'll learn something, everything is connected in that way. And then, after they've done that for a very long period of time, somewhere in there, they will perhaps raise up to the point of people going, gee, what you just portrayed makes me think of this, and it's affected me that way, and there's a sense of responsibility that you begin to derive from that, and that, you know, when you do work or you choose work, it has to do with trying to be able to pick things that are important and vital and what have you. But you have to have the skill to do it first, and it's that skill which you get, first. You have to have the skill first. Sorry if I...
No, I think that was really interesting what you said, and actually, thinking about your question while John was answering, what you said, how to become a media personality, was that your question? A media professional. Okay. I think Patrick would agree with me on this. It's not the problem, it's America's very different to England. I'm pretty sure there isn't a single British actor who became an actor to get rich. Did you become an actor to get rich? No, because you don't earn that kind of money in England. You earn enough to, when you get to Patrick's level, comfortable, hopefully, but not rich in England. Not his level now, his level back then, when he was the RSC. Now he's richer than God. But God borrows money from him. But no, in England, you become an actor Because basically you have huge psychological problems, and that's why you become an actor, because you want to be somebody else. You don't want to be you. In America, there's a lot of money involved, and it's glamorous. Like Dorny said, you know, you're watching ER and they've just finished 6-hour surgery and they take their masks off and the women look perfect and their hair's perfect and they look like they just stepped out of the Neiman Marcus, you know, showroom. In England, that's not the way it is. We don't look glamorous, we look real. So you don't have women with full makeup on waking up in the morning in bed. Anyway, so it's a very different thing. I think what's wrong with America and it's not a problem, but it's different because American kids are inundated with the wealth and the celebrity and the glamour and the red carpets, and they see it all day long on TV, and they think that's what being an actor is. That's not being an actor. That's the fruits of your labor. But you have to do the labor first. So we've got to stop. We really have. I mean, I meet a lot of young women, and they don't want to be actors. They want to be famous. It's a very different thing.
Yeah, but excuse me, I've got to defend, as someone who has actually spent 35 years teaching at the conservatories in this country.
No, you do. I'm saying in the theater it's different. I'm talking about
there are people who are also, I mean, some of my students are film actors. I think it depends. There are people who haven't really studied the craft of acting who think that's what acting is. I agree with you.
Yeah, but no, I'm talking about TV. You watch TV, it's not real. It's fake.
Right.
It's fake here. Everyone looks perfect all the time.
I have taught hundreds of students who are actually, they want to do it because they love the craft of acting and they work really hard at it, and some of them make it with money and some of them don't, but they're still doing it, and they make their own movies and they actually have things they want to say. And so I just think it depends. I'm just saying I don't, it's a generalization.
It was a generalization, but I was saying a lot of people, like I said, a lot of young girls that I meet, they don't actually want to be actors, they want to be famous.
And we're a lot bigger country than England.
What's that?
Can I just...
It's a size. It's like I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, there are so many people in this country. It's like we are not...
Okay, if I ask people in California, which is just a little bit bigger than England, about the same amount of people, it's the same. So I don't think it's the size of the country. So.
Can I just add one thing, if you don't mind? If you're going to teach something, one thing, I had a wonderful teacher, and something that he instilled in me and the other people who've become actors that I know who are in my class, it's really simple, is that acting, I think, is a really ephemeral thing. You can't be certain when you get a role whether you're going to be good or bad or find the necessary thing to illuminate the part. You can't be certain. What you can be certain of is that you can know your lines and you can be on time and you can be a professional. And so sometimes being a professional it's the least you can do. But sometimes it's even the most you can do. But you have to at least do that.
Go into a project saying, oh, this is going to change the world, this is going to make the world a better place. You just have to be true to the material. And then let what happen, right? When we were shooting Star Trek, we had no idea that we were going to impact people's lives the way that we have. This is like, blows our minds every time we hear it. We're just actors. We learn our lines, we hit our marks, and we try not to bump into the furniture, really. So, all that other stuff is not acting. We're actors. That's what I want to do. I just want to act. If what I do affects someone, if it impacts someone, if it makes someone feel something, change their mind, anything, that's a byproduct. It's not the actual job. Unless you're a director, I'm just an actress. Unless you're a director and a producer and you have a message, well, that's a whole different story. But I'm talking as an actor.
I'm taking responsibility for this, and you can hiss me if you wish. It's very interesting to reflect on your experience of Star Trek, The Next Generation, and what it meant to you then, what it has meant to you, what it means to you now, and what you think it ought to mean for the future. And us, who have a completely different relationship with that material. And I sometimes worry a little bit at events like this that we disappoint you a little in that the kind of things that you want us to talk about are very difficult for us to analyze and discuss, partly in my case because it was 30 years ago and I can't remember breakfast time. And so, excuse me, if there has been a disappointment at all in hearing our analysis and memories of, we've laughed so much tonight because those are the memories that we have, largely. Certainly they're my memories, so I apologize. But I'm so sorry, but we are, they're gone. We're out of time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
And your attention.
Thank you, Vegas.
Everyone.
Thank you for 30 years.
Thank you for 30 years.
Get together. What's that? Oh, they don't, do they? They don't sign banners anymore.
They what? Oh, they haven't been signed.
Oh, banners. They do have the banners.